So we have a system, and that we're going to, and the TRAPS stand for, the first one, the T is for to-dos and time, our thoughts. We have a lot of things going on. We were already mentioned a lot of those. We have a lot of things to do, a lot of things that we're going to need to put into place for someone or ourselves. And then the R stands for roles. There are many, many roles, as someone that's mentioned, all the hats that we wear. There are a lot of roles that we have to do. So, and we're going to go through each one of these a little bit more. And then the A stands for the activities. Are we spending our time on the activities that make us the money, that do what we do well? And then do we have plans and processes in place to make life easier for not only us, for our customers, for our employees, and then having the support we need to make it all happen. So we'll start with the to-dos, and the to-dos are basically, has anybody ever done a brain dump? So it's one of the things that I have my clients do a lot, and I always tell them that anytime you're feeling stressed, you're feeling overwhelmed with too much to do, not enough time, feel like not enough time to do it, take the time to sit down and just get everything out of your head and onto a paper. If you type it, if you write it, whatever that is. We keep all these ideas and thoughts going around in our heads all the time. There's no way to really prioritize it when it's in our head. There's no really way of being able to think about who else could be doing it. We just know it needs to be done. And it's taking up a lot of brain power, energy that we could be utilizing in an area that's much more effective. So the best thing to do is take the minute to just write down everything that's on your mind and get it down on a piece of paper. Then you can then start to sort it or do something with it. So in your handouts, on page, I think it's page 18, you already have this diagram, and we'll kind of go through it and talk about it. So we have everything already, you know, we've taken it out of our head. We have this great big list that we need to do. Hopefully you've kind of narrowed it down a little bit. But the first thing that you have to do is you do the dump, and then you have to make a decision. And that's where a lot of us get stuck, okay? I got all this to do, but we don't make the decision to move forward. Sometimes we really just get stuck in that spot. So there's two things that you can do. You can say no, or you can say yes. And my rule of thumb is, if it's not a heck yes, let's do it, then it's probably no for not now, right? If you aren't excited about it, or, but make the decision to say yes or no. So if you say no, is it no for never, or is it no for not now? So just because you're saying no doesn't mean I'm not going to do it ever. It's just that it's not the priority right now. So when you're looking at that list, it will help you to prioritize and really get down to where I need to go, what I need to do. So in the yes section, so if you're saying yes, do I delegate it? Or do I define time that I need to do it? And the time came up a little bit earlier. And the biggest thing about time is endless. In our mind, time is endless. There's another minute, there's another hour, there's another day. In our subconscious mind, we don't really we don't have that perspective on time the way we really need to. The statistics show that it takes 1.5 to 3 times longer to do something than we anticipate. So when we think it's going to take us 15 minutes, need to start thinking that it's probably going to take you 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And that's the first step, being realistic with how much time it takes us. And that's why when we have this list, it all looks great, but there's not enough time to do it all. And then we start beating ourselves up because we didn't get it all done. But we're really it's not feasible. And sometimes other things get into our day, become more priority, but we really want to think about that time. So define the time. If you're going to do it, how much time is it going to take me to do it? Then if it's back to the no, so if it's no, it's not for now, a date to review it. And just put that date, put it on your calendar, put it in a to-do that later I'm going to come back and revisit. If you're going to delegate, when is it due? Always give a due date. I don't care how minimal, how small of a project, always give a due date. Doesn't mean it can't be changed, doesn't need to be. But the problem is that I know I had this problem when I had staff that I'd say, oh, here, when you have time. Well, they were doing things for other people besides me. So my things always never had time when I would say that. And then 2-3 days later, I'm thinking, well, where is it? I gave her plenty of time. So it's always really important to make sure that you're putting a due date. And even if it's for yourself, put a due date. You can change that. But if we kind of leave it out there as whenever, it's never going to move forward. So to get things to move forward. And then if you're going to do it, define the time to do the work. When am I going to do it? So again, for you, you're going to define how long it's going to take you, and then when are you going to do it? When are you going to put it on your schedule? And then on the no side again, if you're going to review it, you're just right back to the decision part again. So you're just going to come right back to the decision, yes or no. And if you continually bring up that no as it keeps on coming up no, it probably is no for never until someday it comes back. So it's really the yes part that we're looking at. And then you're going to deliver the results. So you basically have a brain dump, decision, make a decision. If it is yes, delegate it, who you're going to delegate it to, and when is it due, and then define some time, do the work, and deliver the results. Any questions about that or comments? Why don't we wait and Tim will bring over the...
I think the challenge I often have is I'll schedule the time, and it can even be a piece of client work, and then something will happen that day that means that I then don't get that done. And if sometimes, typically that happens with something I'm doing at home for a client and there's no fixed deadline, so then it becomes a movable target. And then I'm scrambling to get it done because I feel like I didn't do it in the time frame I should have, and put pressure on myself needlessly. So it's kind of hard sometimes because I have staff and stuff crops up, and all of a sudden my day gets train wrecked.
And the best thing that I can, advice I can add to that is that if we know what our priorities are for the day, and you really should not have more than 3 to 5 for the day. I mean, you can always go get more if you get those done. But if we have just 3 priorities and you know the beginning of the day, these are the 3 things I want to accomplish today, it's much easier when that interruption comes to say, have I gotten this done? Or maybe this is now more priority. But when we have a list like this to do, interruption comes, we've not prioritized this list, what else is going to happen but they're going to win. Somebody's urgency is always going to override ours if we haven't made a determination of what is important right now for us to accomplish today. So hopefully that's a little bit of help. So as gentleman said, we have many hats to wear. Especially if we're solopreneurs or entrepreneurs or have very little staff or no staff, we're wearing a lot of hats. We have a lot of things to do. And all of us, even if we do have staff, we're still wearing a lot of hats, and then both personally and professionally. So we really have to be able to sort that and figure that out. So when we look at our roles, there are the good roles, our strengths, the things that we're really good at, the things that we love to do. And those are the things that we want to really base our time around, is the things that we're good at, the things that we can make things move forward on, that are going to move our company forward. And then we have the things that are bad, our weaknesses, right? So we're going to look at the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we have our weaknesses. Those are the things that a lot of times we will acknowledge. Yes, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to do, maybe marketing. I don't know how to do my website. Okay, then we need to probably hire that out. Those are our weaknesses. If we can determine what those are, it makes it a little bit easier to offshoot that to somebody else. But where the biggest trap is the ugly. And those are the ones that cost us. Those are the ones that we say, I really don't want to spend the money for that. I can probably do that. And then we spin our wheels trying to do it, and then eventually we wind up hiring somebody else to clean up our mess. A couple of the big ones that come to my mind, and I mainly, I guess because I used to be in this business, is bookkeeping. Small business owners don't, I can do that, I can do it on my spare time, and a lot of you can. But a lot of you can't, and a lot of you think you need to because you don't want to spend the money, but you're really wasting a lot of time. You put it off and you put it off because it's not something you like to do, and then that's costing you money, and then when you finally sit down to do it, it takes you 2 or 3 times as long as it would have taken somebody else. Same thing times with maybe marketing, our websites, there are a lot of different things that we do that cost us a lot of money. And I have a client that I used to work with, and well, really, she has been a client at times, but she's a very, very good friend, dear friend in Florida, and bookkeeping has to be her issue. And, she was constantly fighting it, and I finally said, why are you fighting this? Hire somebody to do it. It was probably the best thing she could have ever done for her company, because it just took the relief off. It really wasn't that, she's a solopreneur, so it really wasn't that expensive. And it just freed her up, not only from the time, but just the emotional part. And we don't stop and think about that emotional energy that we're producing that's really taking us down.